Y is recorded in front of a live studio audience.
So everybody, when they visit the Pope, seem to bring a present for him.
Hmm.
And it seems like a lot of people from Chicago or the Midwest are bringing jerseys, bringing hot dogs, bringing pizza to gift to the Pope as like, hey, you're from here. So the people who worked for the mayor, I'm sorry, so the state treasurer of Illinois recently was able to meet with the Pope and have an
Okay.
audience. And what did he bring? A check for $8.65, which is
Okay.
what the Pope had in his PayPal account when he closed it.
That's amazing.
It had been sitting in an unclaimed property account, and they found it after he was elected Pope.
Hmm.
And they said, well, let's see if we can get an audience and give him his check.
That's awesome.
So they did.
I love it.
He said, my wife and I came together and made it a bit of a longer trip, but I figured when I had the opportunity to meet the Pope, you would take it.
Of course you would,
Yeah. So,
especially this Pope, because
yeah, I mean, I know everyone says, like, don't, you want, so you go to Pope with the Pope you have, not the Pope you want. What is the phrase?
you're right.
Something like that?
You get the Pope you get, basically. But
Right. And we get the Pope that we get and we don't get upset.
This is Why, with your hosts, Heidi Hedquist and Luke Poling.
I just don't care for the roller
I
coasters.
mean, I'm not a roller coaster person, but I love that one.
Because of you get to ride in a railway roller coaster car with Tom Hamilton, bassist from Aerosmith.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
But also because it doesn't really have a hill.
It doesn't?
But I don't, not really. They
Okay,
jump,
this
like
is
they shoot you out of this thing,
right.
and then it's all like twists, which is kind of crazy, that like thing. But then it's all twists and turns, and I think it goes upside down. And that
Oh, that's where
roller
they lose me.
coasters I love, but like the twists and turns and fast but it's the
Mm.
hill. I hate the hills.
I kind of hate all of it.
It
Yet
doesn't
watching the
surprise me.
video people have posted of like Kermit's not going to scare you to death. Kermit's not going to injure you.
No, of course not.
Dr. Teeth might.
He might,
Fozzie would do it, but accidentally. Gonzo would do it on purpose.
of course.
But I was like, I kind of want to see all the
You have
puppetry
to.
stuff. Like, I would have to suffer through
What's
this
your take
too.
on Tower of Terror?
Uh, I hate that thing with a passion.
But do you like the lead up to it?
Love it.
Right, that's how I feel. But I do it. I go on it, and I hate driving.
Twice. Twice.
Oh no, I've been on it many times.
Oh, and the thing with it too, that one especially, they found when they dropped it, gravity was not fast enough,
I know.
which says something about the masochistic nature of Disney Imagineers, which is
I,
a really fun word for someone who's just
right.
like, let's make you wet yourself on in public.
Well, the craziest thing about it was, and I who am terrified of elevators on top of everything
Oh my, you're
else.
right. Oh my
Mhm.
God, that is like a double.
Yeah,
There's
and
a
then
dude in a
and much
banana
like
suit. You would be.
right.
Or what about that beginning part where you're entering a journey of space and time? And if some dude on a bicycle dressed as a banana rode by, just
Horrible.
it would be curtains for you. That would be
They'll put
it.
it in an old-timey Hollywood hotel, and I'm suddenly like, I'll brave it.
Yeah, let's do this. This could be
It seems
fun.
kind of fun.
Yeah.
And no, they're not going to tell you how many times they're going to drop you and terrorize you.
Hmm.
Fine, because I got to pretend I am wearing like a long satin dress and a fur stole.
Here's my issue, and I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. I think it was the first time I went on the Tower of Terror.
Hmm.
I knew there was a camera. I did not care.
Of course.
So many people, by which I mean whoever bought that photo,
Mhm.
have a picture of me looks like either mid prayer or about to vomit. No
Of
other options.
course.
Then the last time I was in Disney World was prior. Oh no, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad was gone. What was
I love
the
it.
Brer Rabbit?
Oh, Splash Mountain.
Yes, Splash Mountain, where they thought this would be a good idea.
Right. Which, yeah.
And that one, I knew where the camera was, so
Right.
made sure to have some sort of like,
Of course.
pose, which I guess made it less scary because I was like, all right, what am I
Thinking
going to
about
do?
what you're gonna do. Right.
Yeah, that backstage anxiety is like, we
Well,
got to
and
do
that one's
something funny.
only scary at the big drop at the end. And you get wet. I like water rides for some reason, which is so gross. The water's so gross, but I like water.
Yeah, that's just recirculated in that thing
I
too.
know. I'm very strange.
You're just bathing in sunscreen
I know.
that has been on other people.
It's like probably ruins my tan. But maybe, I don't know. There's something about it. Because I think from being a kid when you're so hot and you're just like,
Yeah, but so Space Mountain, I
oh,
had been on a couple of times. One was like, I'll show you. I'm gonna go do this, and then got it. There was like, oh my Jesus, what did I sign up for? And so much of that, yes, is the anticipatory, that slow ascent of like, oh, here we go. This is
mhm.
not good. But I feel like a Muppets roller coaster needs to be experienced.
I agree.
And I don't know if it's going to be made more fun if at some point a giant Sam the Eagle pops up and scolds me for being a wimp,
Hmm.
but I'd like to find out.
Hmm.
I, yeah, it sounds, I mean, in the Rock and Roller Coaster, I would have done as well, just because, like,
Right.
oh, it's Boston Bad Boys Aerosmith, let's do this.
Yes, of course. It was great.
I I feel like in my prep for this interview, as much as I have read and listened and, done all of that sort of normal prep work, I feel like I have spent as much time as I did reading and listening, um, just thinking and kind of reflecting on some of this stuff. So, which is a new one for me. Most guests don't do that, or provoke that. What was the thing that kind of made you get to this point of wanting to put all of this out there and try to help folks?
Wow, that's a big question. And I've lived through that process to get to this point because of my early childhood and the cancer diagnosis crisis in my life. Um, I think I had a lot of trauma
Hmm.
that was unprocessed or processed inappropriately in me. So I had this big desire to for the release and to simply express the feelings because of I never find a way to really express that. When I discovered music, finally I found this way I've been waiting and looking for forever to
Hmm.
just pour out my raw feelings. And then I started to show them to other people, and their reactions just shocked me because some people started crying, some people just choked on their words, and some really started telling their stories. Then I realized this power of healing through music is not just for me, I
Hmm.
can help others too. So, other than writing all kinds of music, I started, because of the reactions, I started more and more focusing on telling all the meaningful stories and with more focus on mental health. And one time, a big podcast company's CEO came to my showcase. It's like a mini concert for industry
Hmm.
people, like media people,
Yeah.
musicians. And he watched my show because I tell a story with my songs. And he said, I don't know what we can do here yet, but if you ever have a podcast idea, please bring it to us. We would love to do something with you. So we sat on that idea for a while. Then one day I just realized that there was so much more I want to say outside the songs. Because the
Hmm.
songs are so limited, the words, you gotta have some repetition, you can't tell the whole story. So podcast would be a very good platform for me to go into more details on each issue I want to talk about. Therefore, we proposed the idea to them and they loved it. So they sponsored my podcast so I could put spotlight on each song in each episode and open up the topic and talk about how as a group of human beings, like a whole community, we became more and more disconnected.
Hmm.
And what did the science say about that? And how we can find our way back. Then in the middle, we play the song. Also, the key point, since you've read the book, the key point, there's always a call to action. Because we see all the issues, they're not new, but oftentimes we don't know where to start
Hmm.
or how to even deal with it. So I boil down the things we can do about it to the simplest step we can take. So nobody can say, I don't have time to do this for myself or for others, or I just can't. So everybody can do it, and it only takes once a day, under 15 seconds. And if we start trying them, I personally, with my family, we try all the things I encourage other people to do in the book and the podcasts. And we started feeling the changes in us and the people around us. So I know if people start trying these little baby steps, they will feel the same way.
One of the things I found that I kept wondering about was you talk a lot about kind of how you were feeling. That I mean, your backstory is unbelievable and amazing. That I always say to folks who have been through things like that you have, the fact that you are sitting upright and can speak in complete sentences is seems like a miracle to me. Like that you're able to kind of keep going despite all of this really hard stuff in your life. And perhaps the question isn't for you personally, but for other people. You talk a lot about finding your true self and who that is and not being who you aren't innately. How do you know what is the true self and when you are kind of going off that path?
Honestly, I'm still looking for her, but from my experience, I'm still at the earlier part. I don't know where the journey ends, but I think
Hmm.
I'm still at the early stage of this journey. I know it's important to find our true self for us to be truly happy and content because if we're not ourselves, who would that be? Is the image that we think we should be based on all the other opinion from other people, from the social pressure, from our own culture, from our own family.
Hmm.
And if we don't find our true self instead of living that image, we'll always feel there's a hole somewhere. No matter how hard we try to achieve the success in that image, even if we reached the end of that, reached all the goals, that hole is still there. We'll never be truly happy. So I know it's important to find her, find myself. And where I started was actually from music. When I found music, I realized that's a big part of who I really am. That's the gift I got. That's part of my meaning is to
Hmm.
use that gift that was given to me. It's like somebody give me a beautiful set of utensils. I'm not supposed to keep it all wrapped up, taken care of just in the drawer. I'm
Hmm.
supposed to use it. That's the meaning of it. And that's part of finding who we are. And we all have our own talents and gifts. Knowing what we're good at, what where our weaknesses are, that's a big part of finding our true selves.
Yeah, I was going to say, to kind of build on your analogy,
Mhm.
you can use a fork to comb your hair. So, are you using the thing that you're given the correct way? And you talk a lot in the podcast about kind of children are born with this innocence and this sense of decency, and kind of like everything else is foisted upon them throughout their lives. But there are some people who just naturally have a more outgoing personality, and there are others who are much more demure, or kind of sit back a little bit. And then to on top of all of that, you quoted in the last episode Sartre, where you said "hell is other people," which I completely agree with. But then also, I would sort of say to you the Whitman quote, "I am complex, I contain multitudes." Do you see that we can have all of these different elements of things and different parts of our personality that come out in certain ways? And how do you find which one is that true one? And should you be shedding all the other ones?
Great question.
And
To
keep it to
me,
30 seconds. That'd be great.
to me, I'm starting to learn all the different traits and different part of personality that comes out sometimes in a private setting or in front of other people. I start to learn not to view any of them as from a good or bad perspective. I
Hmm.
just want to know what they are. And even the things that I have hard time accepting, even the things I label them as the darkness side of me, I learn to accept it. Then I think eventually if I can learn also to love it, then I truly accept myself. Doesn't mean I have to act on them. There is a
Hmm.
difference between knowing who we are, all the different traits, and acting on them. That's our conscience will guide us on what to act on, what not to. But it's important to know. A lot of times when we don't know who we are is because we subconsciously found something that we don't like about ourselves and we're trying to push it down. I think the honesty is a key here with ourselves. We don't have to tell everyone all of our sides. It's not that, but we have to know and be honest with ourselves. And I have this, but I don't have to act on it, but I need to keep an eye on it.
You mentioned it a few minutes ago, this fact that kind of music was something you discovered, and oh, this is something I'm good at. This is something I have this natural skill at that I didn't know, and that you've been kind of honing and refining and working on. When you sit down, and I feel like music is one of those pursuits that can bypass a lot of thought and go straight to the emotion.
Mm,
That you don't need a whole explanation of here's what this is, and you just hear it. You hear it in the lyrics, you hear it in the music, and you go, "Yes, I understand that. I identify with that." When you're writing these songs, how much of it is sitting down and saying, I want to talk about this, I want to tell this part of my story, and how much of it is it just naturally coming out in the creative process?
I love it. First of all, um, music is one of the very rare things that can change our emotions in the matter of seconds. So when we listen to other people's songs, that's why we feel that way. And for me, you're exactly on point. For me, it's more emotion driven. Even if I want to write a story, I know what the story is, but I don't focus on the details, the what happened first, what happened second. I have to sit in there. If it's not my story, I have to go into that character. If it's my story, I'll just relive that story and
Sure.
feel the emotion either from the character or from my own perspective. And the emotion when it's strong enough, I have to sit there for a while with it and really feel everything I can feel from it and really make it concentrate. When it's strong enough, then the music just flows out.
So you sort of go in with a rough idea of this is what I want to talk about and think about.
Yeah, then my it starts with imagination, then the daydream just finished it out off. I put myself in a setting, in a start point of the story, then just let the character plays it all out.
And I know it's an easy comparison to make because you are a woman and there's piano, but I hear a lot of Kate Bush in some of your music. And the song structure is really interesting, and it's not always a traditional, you know, three verses and a chorus. How much of that, again, do you figure out, or is this just a this feels like we need the chorus here. This feels like we need to do this thing because, like you said, you're talking about emotions, and sometimes it's a much more ethereal. It's at a different level than I was walking down the street and this happened. It's up here. It's this different level of thought. How much do you spend structuring that sort of thing and trying to pull those ideas down and put them into a construct we can all kind of understand?
Because I had no training in music writing, one day it just started. So I don't really know technically how they should be. However, I did grow up and still listen to a ton of music all the time. So the general structure kind of is in me. I just
Hmm.
don't think about it too much. However, as emotion goes, because the emotion is actually what's writing the music. So the emotion wants is alive. It wants to breathe. So I can't just go high, high, high. It needs to come back down and breathe back up again, then go bigger, sometimes go back smaller. So it's a living creature. It has its own rhythm. Depends on each emotion. Sometimes it wants to explode at the end. Sometimes it wants to go back to the beginning. It wants to pull people back to the calmness where it started. It really depends on the story and the specific emotion. That's also why I can't control the genre that comes out of them.
Hmm.
Sometimes I go in with a story I thought it would be this genre, but it turned out to be another. That's all because of that. The emotion is the one writing the songs.
How long did it take you to trust that? Because that's the first step in being able to do this is trusting that you have something to say.
Absolutely. That's all great questions because for so many years in my life, I that's the biggest thing I was afraid of doing. I
Hmm.
didn't trust myself. I have very low self-esteem. Even when I write good songs, I don't trust myself to believe it's a good song. So I really want to thank my husband. I always tell him that too. He's the one always is there to encourage me and pull me out of these doubts. He would listen to them and tell me honestly if they're good. Or sometimes it's not as good as the other ones, but to him, there's never a bad song. And
Hmm.
he co-writes with me on lyrics. He's a natural writer. So I would tell him what I'm talking about in this story, why it's big here, why it's small here, what am I feeling. I don't have the specific words, but I describe it with feelings. And together we would put words to it. So that also helped me a lot. So I'm not overwhelmed with
Hmm.
finishing the whole thing by myself while battling the doubt. But I'm still working on it. Trusting
What?
myself
Yeah.
is a big part.
Well, and to that point, you said if you're dealing with low self-esteem and you don't kind of believe in yourself, that you need that person to who is there who can believe in you. You also talked, I think it was in the last podcast, about sort of shedding off the people in your life and friends who kind of hold you back or make you feel bad or put you in a position where they want you to be who you really aren't. What if they're the ones telling you you're good and propping up your self-esteem? And how do you know, love having you around, you make me feel good, but this is not going to help me reach kind of the best version of myself that I can become?
Well, it's usually, it's not, when I'm talking about shedding them, also, it's not that I don't love them anymore. I'm trying to set boundaries on the things that they are trying, on the cultural pressure and other things they're trying to force on me. Doesn't mean I'm cutting off the relationship.
Hmm.
I'm setting clear boundaries so they know if you don't bring this in, we can still find a new way to continue our relationship. And also, my husband is the almost the only person I have a almost 100% healthy relationship with. I
Hmm.
just lucked out on that because of my personality. I naturally look for emotional, unavailable people. That's just what I feel drawn to, I feel familiar with. He's not that way at all. We still have our conflicts, we have things we have to deal with, but we're able to sit down and talk about it in a mature, emotionally mature way and find our way out together. So with him, the trust, I feel I can trust him a lot more than I trust myself.
Hmm. And the other thing, I feel like I know people in my life, friends, family, who have had some form of emotional journey, let's put it that way. And they perhaps are convinced that they have found the way to, for lack of a better term, nirvana, that this is where their joy is. There's a lot of saying to other people and people in their vicinity, well, you don't get it. You just need to do this. And how much of that, it seems like all of your suggestions and the ideas seem very much like well, give this a shot. Not everyone gets cured the same way. Do you see it that way?
Um, well, I think there's a slight difference. All the things I mentioned in the books are not um, new to any of us. Like I emphasized a few times, they are all the things that we already knew as a 3 years old. We
Hmm.
forgot about them, or we learn new things to replace them. But look at us, we're less happier than we were 3 years old. So I'm encouraging people to relearn things they already knew. I'm not teaching them new ways. Like in our life, sometimes we find one way that worked for us in many different things, and we find it easier to just always follow the same philosophy on different things because it worked for me many times and I'm familiar with this process. I can easily just get it started instead of having to learn new ways here and there. But these things I'm talking about, they're not new to anybody, and they're the simplest, most basic things that we already knew when we were 3 years old. That's the difference. And they're guaranteed to work because of the science. And we already tried them many times when
Hmm.
we were little. We just forgot about them. It's just the book and the things, the little steps to do are just a reminder of what
Mm.
we used to be, how happy we used to be.
And do you think that is sort of the process is an ongoing one, even after you found your true self, that you need to keep doing work or need to keep reminding yourself? Or is it you've hit your pinnacle, great job, go have a sandwich?
Well, I don't want to discourage anybody, but I recently learned this lesson the hard way that subconsciously I told myself, I've done all this work. I started to know myself, even though I still have to continue knowing her and know more about her. I the path should be a lot more smoother.
Hmm.
Yet I just got hit by another big identity crisis. I'm seeing a therapist right now. So now I learned I talk about setting appropriate or reasonable expectation in one of the chapters. But look at me, I'm still learning to set reasonable expectations on this whole journey. I think now my expectation is I will struggle and I will learn from my struggles. It will not get easier, but I will know more and more about myself every time I struggle.
And it seems like it's very much a, you mentioned working with a therapist as well. Just the openness and the idea of like, well, this can only help. This can only make things better. I don't want to throw everything away. I want to keep working with certain things. That seems like a kind of novel way to approach some of this stuff.
Well, for me, from what I understand about therapists and what I want to get out of it, I believe we are our own best therapist,
Hmm.
always. But why do we need an outside person? Is because there are things either from our own perspective or from a very close to us person, they just can't see. They're with these every day. We need a third person's view. Need them to point out some things that's been in front of our face the whole time we just can't see and ask us different questions so we can think from a different angle to explore more. But you're definitely right. The openness is the key. I think it's more the true openness to ourselves
Hmm.
than to other people. Because I I constantly feels like I am making a maze to hide my feelings in my head while the other side, another team is trying to dig it out. It's
Hmm.
always a constant battle. So that's my biggest struggle. I need to be honest with myself. Stop hiding it, just show it, and let's deal with it. It's not as scary when you eventually see it.
And it sort of seems like, as an ongoing process, it almost makes the most sense to finish the book and flip back to page one and start reading again, or listen to the whole podcasts and then go back to the beginning and start listening again, just for that kind of maintenance, if nothing else.
That's a great idea. I personally have to do it again. It's like, whoo, I said this. That's great. And this, oh, this research, I forgot about it, but it's
Hmm.
so helpful. I find understanding is huge to dealing with these issues because I used to view myself as ill, but I'm really not. I'm
Hmm.
just struggling as much as everybody else.
Make Me Smile with Mist. Songs, stories, and 15-second actions for emotional healing, mental health, and finding happiness by Mist is available in book form wherever you get your books. You can also find her podcast wherever you find your podcasts. For more information, check out her website, mistthesinger.com.
Nigel, is that you? Are you here, Nigel?